what's going on? Welcome back to Screen Speak. It is the podcast that is all about movies, life, and so much more. I'm Jordan Anderson. I run this thing, and I really thank you for taking the time to come by and give it a listen wherever it is that you're listening to this at. Could be in the shower, could be on the road, could be at the gym, could be... Do you listen to this when you sleep? That would be weird. I wouldn't want to listen to my voice when falling asleep. But enough of that. I have a guest. I have another guest here on the podcast. It's been a while since I've had a guest. Though it actually feels funny calling you a guest because it's my wife, Izola Ramalho.
Hello, everyone. That's me.
Yes. So I have finally talked you into coming on the podcast.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, did I talk to you into coming on this, or is it like more like I begged and then you got mad and you're just like, okay, I'm going to go on so that he'll shut up and stop asking me to get on this?
Yes, but I'm already aware that he will probably ask me to come again. So I guess this is it for my life, guys. I have no other way to just get out of it.
I mean, I
signed the papers, so.
You signed the papers? Is that,
yes.
What you said?
Yes.
Yes. Now, okay, so before I talk about the movie that we're going to be talking about and everything like that, I'd just like to give the audience a sense of how we met and all that stuff, because you are my wife. I can say that now out loud. I'm not quite used to saying it, so maybe it'll help if I say it a lot in this episode. My wife. Okay, how did I meet you?
Oh, he met me on Tinder, to be just straightforward. Last time that I was in America doing part of my PhD. And as I think you guys can guess, I'm not from America.
Wait, why? What are you talking about?
I think they can guess because of my accent.
What accent?
I don't know. My English is just like perfect and I have no accent then.
Yeah, I
take your time and guess where I am from.
Oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Well, actually, no. I was going to say maybe they could guess, but I've talked about you in the podcast before, and I think I've mentioned where you're from. So you'll have to go back into an episode and look. So, haha, you have to listen to more episodes.
I think I have heard you talking about me on the episodes, but anyway, I'm from Brazil. So we met in 2019 when I was here studying the University of Iowa, in Iowa City, actually, not even in the same city. So this is the first time we are living in the same city and also in the same house and everything else. So
that's true.
It's been a fun experience.
Fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Don't you see my face laughing?
Yeah, you seem really... I can't tell. Should I be afraid?
Maybe.
I think I told you early on that to me it seems like a healthy relationship is built upon fear and respect. Maybe
exactly.
Respect, well, and love.
Yeah.
Probably just fear.
More fear.
Because I'm afraid. I am kind of afraid of you sometimes.
Should be.
Yeah. You're intimidating.
I like that.
I know. Or should you say, I know?
Stop. That's not how I sound.
What are you talking about? I just got physically assaulted by her. I just want,
you can't
I want
prove.
people to know.
I was just like slapping my own leg.
Sure. Anyway, this is a movie podcast. I'm sure you know that I do this, right? This isn't a surprise to you that I run this.
Not really.
Do you watch movies?
Not as much as Jordan do, but
we watched this movie together.
Yes, since I have met you, I have watched a lot more movies than I have ever watched in my whole life. Maybe I have already watched more movies since I met you than like all the 27 years before.
Really?
If
like the entirety of your life, you're saying for like the what are we at?
3
years,
3 years
that we have known each other. I've shown you more movies.
Probably.
That's crazy. I mean, maybe it's true because like
yes, because every time we have free time, let's watch a movie. So
I feel like you're a TV show person.
I guess I can be, but I also don't watch a lot of TV shows either. So I guess I just don't know what I do with my life on my free time.
No, because the reason I say TV show person, and it's not to say this as like a bad thing or anything like that, but I've noticed that with movies, if it's, let's say, longer than an hour and a half, that is in your eyes kind of long. And I feel like you either will fall asleep, you might lose interest,
True.
or something like that. Whereas I feel like for TV show, for whatever reason, your attention span is easier when things are broken off into episodic chunks.
No, yes, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's not like I have watched a lot of TV shows either.
Right.
So.
Except Friends.
I have watched Friends.
You like Friends.
I do. And we should not go on that road right now, Jordan.
That'd make for an interesting podcast. For another one, though, because this is movies, not TV shows.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you want to talk about the movie that we're going to be talking about today, King Richard?
Oh, yeah, like Jordan said, he has been asking me to be on the podcast for a while now. And we just watched this movie this week after the Oscars, and I was just interested in watching it and everything that happened in the Oscar. And we decided, and so I just like, was the last movie we have watched. I really liked the movie. I really like it, and that's not really common because sometimes I'm just like, I like, but I don't really like. So maybe that's why.
Well, I have a feeling that we'll be able to talk about a number of interesting things in this movie. I mean, I feel like I do this a lot for just movies in general. I'm pretty good at thinking them in multifaceted ways. I can pick them apart a little bit.
Yes, guys, one thing that I have to share with you is
I know what you're going to say. I
know you
that.
know, but they don't. Every time I watch a movie with Jordan, I have to make sure I have like 1 hour, after the movie.
1 hour, my
or
ass.
something.
No, it is not 1 hour.
Almost. Because after the movie... before the movie, sometimes I get a pre-class, and then after the movie, I get a full 1 hour long or even more class about the movie. Sometimes I just want to sleep, but he doesn't let me. He will be talking about the movie, about the lights, about the cameras, about the director, about... Yes. It's not that I don't like it, but sometimes I just want to watch the movie, and don't have to discuss about every detail.
Well, fair enough, but I'm glad that you put up with my love of film, and I'm glad you're here as well.
Of course.
Yes.
I appreciate it, and I think it's cute and beautiful how much you love movies and just how much you know about it.
Well, I really care about it. I think I think I told you actually early on when we first started dating, is that movies are such an impactful part of my life. They shape who I am still to this day.
Yeah, you would choose movies over me. I have heard about it.
I did not say that.
But you would.
No.
But it would be a hard decision, I know that.
I mean, it'd have to be a really good movie. Or movies.
Jordan.
What?
Be careful with what you say. It's being recorded. I can use it against you.
I mean, it's not live. I can always edit this thing out. You would have no idea.
I remember.
Yeah, I could just pretend never mind. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, we are going to talk about King Richard. So this movie came out November 19th of 2021. It's hard to believe it's that recent, I guess. It feels... I don't know why I'm saying that. See, that's where I should have had that edit segment out there, just to cut that out. But anyways, this movie came out in November 2021. Stars Will Smith. John Bernthal's in a supporting role. I can't think of the two girls that play Venus and Serena Williams. Okay, I got it right here. It's Sanaya Sidney, and this is Demi Singleton. I think I'm saying that right. Those are the girls that played Venus and Serena Williams. And then Anjanou Ellis played the mother of the Williams girls. So I'm going to read the synopsis here, and then, we're just going to dive right on into our thoughts on King Richard. So here's the synopsis. Armed with a clear vision and a brazen 78-page plan, Richard Williams is determined to write his two daughters, Venus and Serena, into history. Training on tennis courts in Compton, California, Richard shapes the girls' unyielding commitment and keen intuition. Together, the Williams family defies seemingly insurmountable odds and the prevailing expectations that are laid out before them. It's a pretty good synopsis.
Yes, pretty straightforward.
Now, the first thing that comes to mind, at least when I think of this movie, is one, I mean, the reason I'm talking about it just overall, I do enjoy this movie. I would recommend it. It is worth a watch.
It's a life lesson.
Oscar controversy stuff aside, like ignore that stuff and watch the movie for what it is. The movie.
Yes.
There are a lot of life
Serena
lessons.
And what's her name?
Venus.
Venus deserve you guys to watch it because they are great. And Richard too, of course. And the wife too, that I don't remember the name. Oh, people, you guys will get to know me. If you get to know me, you will see that I am really bad in remembering people's name, and even worse in remembering like people from the movies. So.
But you know who Will Smith is.
Yes, Richard.
Yes, that's right.
But what's the name of the wife?
Oh, her character?
Yes.
That is Brandy. Brandy Williams.
Okay.
Yes. But so the first thing I think about when I think of this movie is the role that fatherhood plays in it. And I actually thought it was a refreshing way to not only approach just a biopic, because the movie is about the accomplishments primarily of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's very much driven by the father. So I thought that was a unique way to approach their story as tennis superstars. Mm-hmm. But then what I actually found more interesting in the movie is just a lot of the underlying messages and ideas and perspective that it shows that fathers have, like being a good father. There's a lot of things that the movie shows about like what it takes maybe to be a good father. Maybe sometimes when a father crosses the line too, does too much. Because love is powerful, and a father's supposed to provide and teach and guide. And I don't know, I found the movie refreshing on how much focus it had on the father and a person being a positive father, and not like there being crazy family drama or a couple that didn't get along the whole time, or doing like the cliche where it's like the dad's gone and the mom's raising all the kids by herself. And grant you, it's a true story, so you have to go off the facts, but I just don't see a lot of movies that show the benefits of what a strong foundation a father can provide to a family if he's actually, doing what he's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But what I was curious about in this movie is that his influence on Venus and Serena Williams, I would argue that the movie portrays it to be positive, but do you ever think that his influence maybe could at times like overshadow their own interests that they might have?
I don't know if I can think about that based on what I saw in the movies. On the movies, it always seemed that they were interested on tennis. So it really seemed like they liked what he was doing. He could have been too much, maybe, but could not have worked the way that it did. They could have just got traumatized and like bad stuff, but it worked out, so I can't context, against facts.
Well, what do you think were, like, okay, so like if we're looking at the movie, what did you think were his most positive attributes or examples that he provided for the girls?
Oh, his discipline. And it's just like make the plan, follow the plan, make the plan, follow the plan. It's really like...
Yeah, that was actually interesting because you almost kind of...
always talk about just like, you have a plan.
Well, and at the beginning of the movie, you almost sort of shake it off because he's like, I got this plan for my girls that I wrote, and it just sounds like he's being a cute dad. But then as the movie goes on, you're like, oh,
he really has a plan.
Legit. He has a plan, and he's not wavering from the plan.
Yeah, and I think the girls really get his plan, too, and they were moving along with him on the plan. That's why it worked out, If they didn't want to follow the plan, it wouldn't work. Like, at the beginning, it seemed that the plan was for, all the sisters. And then, because there were 5, right?
Yeah, there were 5, I think, total.
Yeah, but then, as the movie went on, you could see that, just 2, Serena and Venus, were Venus?
Yeah, Venus. Yeah.
Venus. Just them 2, were interested on doing the movie, on doing the, going on the career for tennis and everything. So if they were not like on the same page of him, it wouldn't work. So, and he let the other ones don't do it, you know. So I think that he really saw something on them, and
Yeah, I think he overall is a very positive example for a father portrayed in the movie, and also I mean it seems like Venus and Serena are. Oh my gosh, I have my phone on. What am I doing?
if it was me,
Yeah, I can't believe that. That is a first. I
Yeah.
cannot believe my phone was on during the recording of a podcast. My apologies. Humblest apologies. Anyway.
don't worry, guys. I will make him pay for that.
Yeah, how?
You will know.
Oh, physical violence. Okay. So, I think overall he's a very positive figure in the movie, Richard Williams. I agree that he was extremely disciplined, almost to like a unbelievable degree that most people would give up after a year or two, maybe even less than that. I mean, today's day and age, I feel like a lot of people...
He would work, he would teach them, like coach them.
Yeah.
He would like... I don't know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like we said, there were 5 kids. Can you imagine?
And the other kids would sometimes be there and watch, and he would
help, right?
Yeah, and he would provide not only, of course, like a home and stability and whatnot, but he would take them to like their practices. He helped get them actual professional coaching that he strived for years. He made videos for them, tried to teach them like media training, like how to talk to people.
They never talked in the movie like how does he know about tennis, because he coached them really well too.
Well, I think it showed, at least from what I can tell, he's totally self-taught. I think he developed an early interest in the sport himself and saw that there was like an elegance to the sport, a class, a grace to it, because as the movie shows, African Americans weren't really that much into the sport, and let alone even if African Americans were in the sport, it was typically associated as being a rich people's sport. Something that people with money could only really participate in and get good at, because it takes a lot of money to, you know, really take the sport seriously. But anyways, I think early on in the movie it shows that when he wasn't doing the coaching himself and taking them to the practices, he had that night job working security, and he clearly had some downtime there, and I think he just read up. He studied and studied and studied. And I think that's how he did it.
Yeah. And he was also like talking about like a good father. He was also really good on like balancing it out. So he always made sure that they would work hard, but they would play hard too, you know, like they would have fun time and everything. And it's just crazy how he was able to just have that balance, you know.
I also liked how, apart from the discipline that he instilled on them and focus and drive and everything else, he was extremely big on humility.
Oh yeah, it's
like
true.
there was a couple parts in the movie where the girls would maybe get excited about doing well and that type of thing, and he's like, no, like you seriously, was like, I won't let you guys play if that's how you're, like, you do not do that.
Yeah,
like he was very firm about that, but he was very smart about the way that he did it. He's never like screamed, he never like yelled or screamed, like you don't do that. He didn't like curse or anything like that. It's just the way he carried himself was very good for those girls.
Yeah. A really good example, like you said, just like what we should be as parents, and
he worked them hard too, which that would maybe be a source of potential controversy for depending on the person that's watching the movie, because even the neighbor across the street, right,
could almost be too much.
Well, the neighbor across the street almost is like there to be the audience member that would say, well, maybe they shouldn't be worked that hard. You're doing a lot. You're having them practice at nighttime, practice in the rain. Like, they have school to do. Like, you know, they need to be kids. Like, you're just treating them like they're, you know, professional athletes already, and they're barely even, like, 10 years old. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I mean, some of that would be questionable, but I do think overall his hard work ethic and discipline and focus, it's something that a lot of families miss out on, and I don't think I really see a lot of... You just don't hear about that level of discipline and commitment to children. At least from a father's perspective, I don't hear about it that much.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about some of the negative side of his influence as well. I don't think he was perfect. I think the movie was showing that at times he would sometimes get almost self-involved with it. He'd like the cameras, he'd like the attention, or sometimes he would be kind of bullheaded and stubborn and not really listen to the input of others.
Yeah, even his wife, right? Like some.
Yeah, because there would be numerous times where he would make a decision for the girls without even talking to anybody about it. He's like, "Yep, I just did it."
Yeah, his wife would have to remember him that they were a team a lot of times. Yeah.
I really like that one scene in the kitchen where she kind of like finally has enough of like him trying to run the show because he's a very confident person.
Yeah.
Which is
because
good for
he had the plan.
Yeah, because he had the plan and he's very sure of himself, but at the same time it's like, and I think he learns this too eventually, that as much as he tries to do himself, he has to let go a little bit. Because they have that one scene where early on he finds the first professional coach, but even he's trying to coach while the coach is doing the coaching. And the coach is like, Richard, like you've done a great job though so far, but let me help. Like you don't need to.
Yeah.
But of course, I think that could be hard too, because when you've worked so hard to see your children get to a moment, it would be hard to let go, to let that level of control go to somebody else that you don't really know.
Yeah, even more when he knows he does a good job. So,
now another thing I really wanted to talk about in this movie that I just could not help but think of all the different possible hypotheticals with it is I can't recall exactly what age he started teaching the girls tennis, but the fact that they actually ended up like good, not just good, but great legends. You know, it is like the one person in the movie says where it's like, that's like saying like you got the next Mozart living in your house.
it's
like
crazy.
The odds,
and not only the next, but the one after the next. So
yes,
like the
both.
two, like it's crazy. Like.
Yeah, because I just think it's like, okay, even if I have the most disciplined commitment in the world and I'm taking them to practice every day, blah, 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 there's no guarantee that they're going to have actual skill to do it.
Yeah, but his confidence was really high, and I think that also made it work, because he just believed and kept doing it until he got there, basically.
Yeah, it does say a lot about the power of just sheer will and belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Not taking no for an answer, just, grinding down and just put it in the work.
Yeah, that's another thing. He heard a lot of no's. Like,
a lot of no's.
A lot of no's. And I don't know how he was like that. I was really proud of him after the movie. I'm like, that's really a good example of a human, not only a father, just like what we should do in our lives and this kind of stuff.
Well, back to the hypothetical side. So, one, there's the very small chance of success in the fact that even if you are incredibly hardworking and, instilling discipline on these girls, they just might not be good at tennis. There is that possibility. But then I think from the girls' perspective that it's like, I've known kids where, like, let's say a father loves basketball, but the son doesn't really give a shit. Like they're like, I don't like my dad like wants me to play, but I don't really want to play. Like it makes me think like it's great the girls went along with the plan. Obviously, it did tremendous benefits for them, but at the same time, I'm like, what if they ever push back against him? They're like, Dad, like we don't want to play tennis. We want to do something else. I just wonder like what could have happened. Because I don't know that necessarily every kid would be so willing to dedicate their lives to their father's vision for them.
Yeah, I think it's just because they really loved it too. So.
Well, and I think
if they didn't love and they didn't follow the plan, it would not have worked at all.
Well, and that's what I was going to sort of allude to is that I think the reason why it worked was because the father genuinely wanted them to succeed and that he sometimes could make it about himself, but he really wanted it for them. And I think he was still a good father, just a well-balanced father all around. Yeah. So like he would reward them when they did well. He would be happy when they did well. He didn't like
He would
You know,
have fun with them.
he would work them hard, but he'd always say, have fun, have fun. I don't
Yeah,
want
I
you to, like,
remember
he wouldn't
that.
be like, you know, get your ass out there. Like, he wouldn't do anything like that.
Yeah, he always would say in the movie, like, I remember you were just having fun, just go and have fun. So I think that's also really important too.
Well, because, and we've talked about
And
this.
he was really aware, like, of what the high pressure could do with them. And
Yeah,
that
I forgot
was
about
one
that.
of the reasons why they would not play what do they call
Juniors.
they would not play juniors, and everybody would judge him, but he was just observing what was happening with the other kids that were playing juniors, and like how bad it was for their mental health. And he just decided that it doesn't matter like what other people think, what other people do. They could have
Or
been
what money they get offered.
exactly, they could have been making a lot of money really much earlier, but he didn't want to take a chance of hurting their like mental health too hard too soon, basically.
And just their natural growth.
He was just like making sure that they would grow and that they would be mature and ready, not only regarding the sport itself, but like because he knew they were good enough, like talking about tennis, but he was not sure if they would like their mental health, their maturity were like ready to go to the next level. So he kind of protected the kids too, and that's really cute too.
That's the way I saw it, and I could see the perspective though too of like the upper league tennis coaches that have worked hard to get the girls to where they're at, and they want to see them play in the tournaments because at the end of the day, it is a competitive sport. You want to compete. So there's that coach that's played by John Bernthal, who I thought he actually did a phenomenal job. He's a great actor, great character actor. I've seen him in so many movies, but I really thought that he did a good job. I like the voice, his mustache. He was a fun coach,
Yeah.
but he worked hard too. Like he had a really contagious energy about him. So I really liked him in that. But I understood his pain sometimes because
Sure.
he's running this tennis academy of people that are trying to become superstars, and Venus and Serena, they're like it, and he's like, okay, like they're great,
Let's
like
go.
like they're ahead of like most people, and he's like, nah, like
Not
we're not doing
not
that. And
yet.
he's like, oh my god, like I'm going to go insane because for someone like that, he wants to push, he wants competition.
Yeah.
But I do agree that holding them back was a smart thing. And he didn't hold them back. I think he did it for like just the right amount of time, almost to the point where if he had done it for much longer, they would have pushed back on him and been like,
Yeah.
okay, Dad, like we get what you're doing, but come on.
Yeah.
But I liked it because they need to be kids.
Exactly.
They don't need all the pressures and stuff of everything else.
They needed to have fun, really fun, to just like enjoy what they were doing. That was really smart of him.
And do you remember this scene? Because this was one. I think this happened before, like the scene where he pulls him for practice just to go to Disneyland.
Yes.
Which that was a funny scene. They're just like, yeah, we're going to Disney, and like
the coach wanted to kill him, basically.
Yes. But before that, and this is something we'll get to a little bit later on, is that the movie also has a lot to say about race relations between white people and African Americans. And from the neighborhood that they come from, Compton, it's not at all unusual for them to see gangs around, gang violence, just bad news between whites and blacks hurting each other. Of course, at the time, this was in the 90s when this movie took place, there's this one scene where the girls, they're all, I think, excited about winning one of their first tournaments or something like that. It's very early on in the movie. And in the other room, the mom is seeing the now infamous beating of Rodney King, which I don't know if you know, like, what that story is, but it was one of the first, I don't want to say one of the first, but it was one of the first times, like, on a national level that attention got picked up on police brutality against African American people.
Oh, I remember this scene.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, this is not to be like a Rodney King segue or anything like that, but the guy got pulled over from the cops. He was on drugs of some kind, so he was under the influence. He wasn't innocent, but the police definitely went too far. Like, they started beating him up with billy clubs. There was like 5 of them. It was ridiculous.
That's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. But I noticed during that scene when he's seeing it, but like you can kind of see the fear in his eyes without saying it, that like, oh God, like if I steer from the plan or veer away from it too much, my girls are going to get caught up in what's going on in the world. They're going to get swept into bad things because of race. And I think he was always afraid of that.
Yes, they were really aware about the race thing.
Yeah. And that's something that I can't really say I can like pretend to relate to it myself, just because, you know, I am white, so I'm not really going to understand like how that truly feels for like someone of another race to feel, you know, threatened but based on the color of their skin. But it was just interesting that he always kept those things in the back of his mind, whether it was the pressures of tennis and what that could do to his girl's mental health, how they're looked at by race. He was always very much aware of that. So it's just very, very interesting to think about.
Yeah, because on the movie they show that the tennis people are mostly white, and the two girls were basically the only blacks there, and sometimes it would be hard on them too in the beginning. So, and it also shows like how important they were on just opening the doors for, you know, all races in the sport, which is really nice, because, you know, just having the doors open in any sport for any race is really what it all should be about.
So, talking about the odds that were against them, you know, we talked about the potential of them maybe not being good at tennis, or them just not sticking to the discipline of having to, you know, having what it takes to be a professional athlete. But I want to talk about the bad neighborhood that they came from, which is in Compton, California. It's basically, you know, it's a ghetto. It's a poor area of California. Not a lot of great things, I guess, have happened out of that. But I don't want to say that it's necessarily true. I'm sure other people from of prominence have come out of there before. I think actually Ice Cube came out of there from NWA, but. Early on in the movie, one of the things that was, it was scary, is like the girls would try to practice at this, local tennis court there, but it'd be patrolled by like this gang. One of the daughters would get harassed, the oldest one.
Yes.
And they even like beat the shit out of the dad, like once or twice they hit him, and like call him the N-word.
They also were totally against them.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, and that's just from one perspective alone, because just from being in that area, their odds go drastically down.
Then the race, then like just
well, not to mention their income,
the income, the sport that was not open for poor people, and just the odds. Even if they were rich, even if they were white, even if they were like in the best neighbor of the world, even the odds were still against them, because it's like two amazing players in the same house, from the same dad and the same mom. It's like, what? It's crazy.
The whole story, I mean, the fact that it's a true story is, I mean, it is really great, and it's inspiring too. I like seeing movies like that, because I think that for a lot of people, not only does it inspire them to want to reach higher and do more with their life, but I think it shows that if you can apply yourself and get lucky, basically, that you can get confidence and start believing in yourself and actually do something that matters. And that's something I want to talk about, is just confidence, the subject of confidence, because I think it's very important in this movie. I don't think that the Williams girls, everything else that we've talked about aside, if they didn't have the confidence, they would lose. And I'm just curious, Izola, where you think confidence comes from.
What do you mean?
Like, how do you think somebody becomes confident? Like, what makes a person believe in themselves?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. A lot of things. On their case, I think that the confidence they had on themselves came a lot from their dad and their mom. And I think on most cases, like the people that raise us, and how much they would just, just encourage us to do harder things, to go further. It helps a lot on building the person's confidence. So
Do
in their
you?
case, I really think that like their parents were like the reason they were so confident, because he never, even when he would hear things from other people, but he would never like, oh, maybe you are not that good. He would always say, you are good. And for me, I think that my confidence comes from that too. So from my mom just always saying that I could do more than what I really trusted I could do. So that's why I think that it really comes from not only, but I would say that really importantly from parents and whoever raises you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. For some of those things, for sure. I mean, confidence comes from a number of different places, but it does start with your mom and dad, or presuming, if you even have both of them or one of them. Um,
Or neither of them and just
or,
somebody else.
yeah, I mean, it comes from a care. Whoever is giving you care, whoever provides for you, that is the person that's going to start shaping you. They're going to, decide something for you. I think of myself, confidence is something I struggled with for all my life, really. I was very timid in high school and very shy as a kid. Wasn't really till I got to college that I started to, I guess, become my own person. And I just say started to because I don't even think by the time I finished college that I was fully there yet. I still, and still to this day, probably have a long ways to go on that because there's one thing that my 31 years has taught me is that confidence, like real confidence, that's not put on to impress somebody or to, you know, fake it till you make it, as they say, but like real confidence, it's not easy to get.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
true.
not easy to get, and it's something that I think even the most confident people, I feel like they would tell you that it takes constant work to maintain a level of it if you are lucky enough to even be able to get it. And I don't know if I'm at that. I don't know if I'll ever be at that like perfect level of it, but I certainly know it's something I can always work on.
Yeah, it's true. It's really important.
Yeah. Um, Now I wanted to go back to you talked about your mom and her importance of confidence, but on the subject of fathers, do you think your father was, an
Help
influential figure in a way, or do you think like his influence mattered as much as your mom's?
for the confidence thing.
Just confidence yourself, like who you are, like how they
Oh, for
shape
who
you.
I am, I'm sure because he helped raise me. So you always learn things with those people. So yes, for the confidence, I think more about my mom in this subject than my dad. But yeah,
But maybe I should ask you the question like this: say you didn't have your mom or your dad, they just like
okay.
in this hypothetical they don't exist. Do you think you would be able to have as much of a shot at being a confident person without them? Like, or do you think that it's integral that a person needs to have like a family structure in order to
I
build it?
think no, I think not only them because not only them helped me. Like I had a lot of friends and good people basically that would just encourage me and just like kind of remind me of who I am and like the power that I have and what I can do and how far I can go. So, and then once I started seeing like it happening in real life, I guess then I didn't need as much as like outside people telling me what I could do because I was seeing what I could do. And so I became more confident as I start seeing the results. But when you are little, it's kind of hard to be confident because you don't see the results yet. So
I think there's certain people in life that, and I don't think this is a lot of people. I think it's a minority of the human population, but there are some people that it's like the harder circumstance they have, the more it drives them to succeed. I'm not saying that everybody's like that though. I don't think it's a big portion of the population. There's a reason why there's only handful of people per like on a per capita basis that are actually famous than ones that are not. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know if necessarily like having a family is necessary to achieve greatness or a high level of confidence, but I don't think it would hurt anything. And if you're lucky enough to have a good one, I think it just gives you a leg up. It gives you a leg up at an earlier place in your life, that if you're lucky enough to have a solid family, you have a good mom and a good dad that are working together to work hard for you. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have that
like
alone, you should already be ahead of the game in a way.
Yeah, you are a step forward than other people, but it doesn't mean that who doesn't have it won't get there. You know, we that don't have it would just need to work harder, and that's it.
So, talked a lot about family values, confidence, family dynamics, that sort of thing. But the one thing I haven't talked about in this episode, that this movie's all about tennis.
True.
Tennis.
Yeah, which
have you played it?
Know a lot of. Never.
Did you know like any of the rules about tennis, like when you watched this movie?
Not really. I could understand though, but I don't really know the rules. Actually, I was surprised with one of the rules that the player can just take a break for as long as they want and be out there for whatever time they need, and while the other player is just waiting. So that's really annoying, and I kind of hope they change that rule.
I don't know the fullest extent of it. I could Google it right now, but there's some other things I wanted to talk about on there. But yes, when that moment in the movie happens where they're in a high stakes game and the person's just like I'm gonna take a break and I'm just gonna let them sit there and stew and like throw off their psychology or their mental game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about that. I can tell you I did have the opportunity to play tennis a couple of times as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, we actually the private school that I went to, there was a little tennis court actually across the street. It's actually close by to the Colonel Stadium over there. There's a couple of they might still be there for all I know. I don't know. But we used to go over there sometimes, either for like PE, physical education, and play tennis sometimes. This was around probably like the 4th or 5th grade, I want to say. I don't think I was ever good at it. I most often would smack the crap out of the ball, hit it way harder than it needed to, so it'd go like flying over the fence. It's like, it's not baseball, it's tennis. It's a back and forth. I don't think I was meant to be a tennis superstar. I'll just say that. Do they play tennis in Brazil? I wasn't sure if you knew that.
Well, when I was growing up, I didn't see people playing tennis. It was not really common, I would say. Now, lately, I have been seeing more people playing tennis and other sports other than just like soccer, like Brazil is known for. But I don't have any experience with tennis, and I really don't know anybody that does play it, like for real. So.
I have a coworker.
That's also another difference, like this. Like I think maybe a cultural difference. We don't have as much as investments in sports in Brazil as you guys have here in America. So.
Like in what way? Like just like from a financial perspective?
Yes, and just like schools, they don't have like a lot of investments on these schools on the different sports. A lot of different sports, and like the public schools mainly don't have like structure or like coaching, or not really, nothing really even close to what you guys have here, like since really a young age, and like most schools have it, and it's just like such a big deal to be good in some sports. So I think it's changing slowly, but it's in Brazil. Yes, it's changing. But not even close to like the values that you guys have here, and like the importance that you give to sports, and so.
It's interesting with the when you talk about the values of sports, because I think I've probably mentioned it before on here. I am by no means a sports fanatic. I respect sports. I like stories about sports. I even like to watch them sometimes casually, but I've never really been a big fan or participant in them really myself. I'm trying to think. I just had the point in my head and now it's escaping. What?
I think you say that like even if you don't play, you are not like a fan, but you
Oh,
appreciate
okay.
the values of it.
Yes. Thank you. I'm back on track. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The thing I was gonna mention just when we're talking about the value of sports and whatnot is that I do see there being a number of benefits, especially at a younger age. I mean, for
Yeah.
one, it just gives children or kids a way to use the energy that they have. It's healthy just from a physical perspective that they're able to burn off energy and get that out of their system, which is good. There's a lot of things I'm sure I could say about the teamwork dynamics that a sport teaches you, showing you how to work together towards a common goal.
The confidence, the
Confidence,
planning.
social skills too. I mean, you have
Yes.
to work with other people and you have to participate with
You
other
have to
people.
learn to lose.
Yeah, you have to learn to lose. So I mean, I know there's a number of life lessons that go into it, and I would also probably make the case that depending on the neighborhood that the sport is taking place in, it's also a way to keep them off the streets.
Sure.
Keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I guess I would hope that Brazil would maybe be able to do more with that. I think a lot of the people, Americans anyway, that listen, they just think, oh, well, don't they all just play soccer all the time? Soccer, soccer, soccer. They play for soccer teams. But like you told me once before that, yeah, just because they play soccer doesn't mean they do it in a stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they play it in the streets or they play it in their backyards
Fruitless,
or
yeah.
like everywhere. Okay. I want to talk about the acting just for a minute. In particular, Will Smith. What did you think of Will Smith in this movie?
He was really good. I mean, I don't know a lot about movies, so I can't really judge. But I guess he was really good. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got the Oscar, right? So that's kind of easy to say. But I really like it. I kind of get involved with in this case with Richard. So it's kind of weird. Like, and for me, it was really easy to like don't see Will Smith on it and just see like who he was performing and just like also I want to talk about not only him. I mean, you said you want to talk more about him, but we also watched like a short video about the movie, and Will Smith said that the actresses that played Venus and Serena, that they were like also really good because they were able to learn a lot of tennis and like just do the scenes and everything in a really short period. And I think that they also were really good.
Oh, yeah.
On their acting.
Well,
and
and
they
they
are
have
like
to-
young, and like one of them, I don't remember which one, I think was the one that played Serena. I don't remember, but he said that she was she was left hand, and she had to learn to do everything for tennis. That she was first. She
on
was
camera.
not. She was not a player, so she didn't know how to play tennis. So she had to learn, and as it was not hard enough, she had to learn to do it with her right hand, while she was left-handed. So it's like really even harder. And they were just really good on the acting and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
and
'cause
yes, and like Will Smith was like really not Will Smith for me on that movie. He was like
No.
really like Richard. He was just really, really, really good.
Well, he had like because the father's, I believe, is from an area in Louisiana, because he has a little bit of a southern draw to him when he talks. He's got a little bit of an accent. I didn't realize that he was wearing, he's wearing a hairpiece in the movie. He has some prosthetic makeup on. He even put in like a set of fake teeth and some. They showed a behind the scenes thing. They have like a thing in his lip that like helps his mouth protrude out a little bit more. Nothing like in your face obvious, like, oh, he's like
You
wearing a
cannot
bunch of
tell.
stuff. Like he makes it seem very natural. but he has to act with all those different materials and things going into his performance. And I did think he was great. I thought probably my favorite scenes with him were like he really was showing his acting chops. One in particular was the scene where he finally is going to allow Venus to compete, and they have like this one-on-one on the tennis court, and they're both crying, and it's very emotional. A lot of stuff like built up to that moment. But then also the scene too where he gets beat up by these kids for trying to protect his daughter. He conveyed a lot in his eyes, just like showing somebody that like instinctually wants to like reach back and hurt them for like trying to hurt him and his family, but also having to maintain control. So there was a lot of really good acting I thought that he did on that. And yes, the girls were great. And when you talk about them having to, be convincing tennis players, you know, they're doing it all on camera. And yeah, you can use body doubles, and I know they did in a couple of scenes for some of the stuff that they might not be able to do. But that's a lot of work for young actresses to be able to do that. And not to mention, you're playing someone who is basically like the Michael Jordan, the Muhammad Ali of a sport. Like Venus and Serena Williams are pretty much the top of tennis. Yeah. So that's a lot. But I thought they all handled it brilliantly. I mean, the cast in the movie absolutely kills it. And yeah, this is a really good movie. There's a lot of great things to take away from the movie. I really enjoyed it. But the very last thing I did want to talk about with you, and I promise I don't want to talk about it for a lot, but it's hard for me not to talk about it, is of course Will Smith winning his Oscar and that slap that happened. I don't want it to detract from all the positive things we've been saying about the movie, but it's hard for me not to mention it, especially because, ironically, and again, it's just a movie, but the character of Richard Williams oftentimes has to be disciplined, and he has to stifle his impulses. He has to control himself.
He has to accept that he's beaten down by bad people and not reacting and controlling himself just because, you know, he had something greater look forward. So for me, to make a long story short, after the slap, Will Smith should just have gone home and watched the movie again, because I think he didn't learn the lesson.
I'm not gonna I think I just said it a minute ago. I'm not gonna give like this like big breakdown on the slap. There's enough videos out there to get your satisfaction for that.
People have discussed it enough about that, I guess.
Yeah, they've talked about it enough, but I bring it up just because it is sad for me that a movie that was so good, and I don't even know who the director of the movie is. I gotta look it up here. It was directed by a man named Ronaldo Marcus Green. I hope he continues making movies, because I don't know. I'm sure he's probably directed movies before, but I've never heard of him, and I think he did a great job. But it's just sad when a movie like this gets on the platform of the Oscars, and it's so inspiring and so good on so many levels, and to just have it get shrouded over by controversy it's just sad.
Yeah, so please don't stop watching the movie because of Will Smith. Or anyway, just watch the movie. The movie was really good, and I felt like, with the Oscar thing, like the slap thing, I just felt really sad and really sorry for everyone involved on that. And after I watched that movie, I felt even more sorry and sadder, more sad. Just because, you know, like Jordan said, it's such a great movie that it's not worth it. And it's like, it's really not fair with the family, with the directors, with everybody that was involved, that people would just get distracted from the movie to the slap. So just focus back on the movie, guys, because the movie is really good, and I think the movie says everything, you know. I really think that, like, he should just have gone home and just watched the movie again, because it really show a lot of self-control and just like, sometimes we have to be hurting by people and not hurt back, basically.
Well said. And my last thought on that whole subject and whatnot is that separate the art from the artist. I mean, I'm not saying that I condone Will Smith, and yeah, he made a bad mistake on public television or national television, is what I was trying to say. International. I mean, yeah, it's one of the most viewed shows, award shows on the planet. But at the end of the day, he's human, and he made a bad mistake. And it does happen.
And yeah, I don't want to give a spoiler, but in one scene of the movie, it kind of showed that the father almost, he was really close to doing like a really bad mistake. And God just, I guess, I believe in God. If you don't, just whatever. Just took him away from that. And
that scene was really good.
Yeah, and helped him to don't do it, to control himself and don't hurt back. So I really think that what happened with Will was just like the same thing. He was just like really, but the thing is that instead of having just like God controlling him, to have him step back instead of hurting back, evil, like him said, just used him on his best time.
Yeah, I hope that people can move past what happened and hopefully focus on, what this movie is really all about, and hopefully can look past all the controversy of the Oscar crap and just look at the movie for what it is. It's a very inspiring movie, and not just inspiring from the subject matter, but it's inspiring on the side of the actors, because there's some really great performances in the movie. It's a well-shot movie, and I mean, I couldn't go on, but I think I've made my case. King Richard is a movie that's worth watching, and I would actually say it's worth owning. If you like physical...
And I don't agree with that most times.
If you like physical media like me, buy King Richard. I am not selling any copies, but yeah, you should buy it. It's a good movie.
It's on HBO, so if you have it, just watch it there, and it will be
agree to disagree on that one. Physical media forever. Okay. Izola, we're at the end of the podcast.
It was nice being here, guys. I hope you like it, to hear me, to hear my accent, to just hear my mistakes in English, to just, hear us talking about this stuff.
Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be being here?
It's not bad. It's fine. So, I might come back, guys. Do you want me back? If you want me back, just, I don't know, share the podcast, view the podcast a lot. If we have a lot of views in this podcast, then you guys will get me back. If not, that's the last time.
Oh, hey, you should put like an exit message in Portuguese for anyone that is in Brazil.
Oh, in Brazil listening to this.
Yeah.
So, gente, se vocês ouviram, no caso, esse podcast, compartilha com todo mundo. Se tiver muitos views, nós iremos ter outros podcasts. E aí vocês vão ver eu e Jordan aqui conversando, discutindo sobre os filmes, que é mais ou menos o que a gente faz na nossa vida, no nosso dia a dia, após os filmes, porque isso é o que ele gosta de fazer. Só que agora a gente tá compartilhando um pouquinho com vocês. Obrigada por ouvirem. Um cheiro!
What she said. Okay. Take care, everybody. I will see you all on the next episode. Bye-bye.